Alright guys, welcome back to Shit Talk. Let's talk some shit. This is a family show, I'm kidding. Alright, so vlog time everyone. So this is the time where we have our little heart-to-hearts and just openly debate about stuff. And I want to be able to speak very openly with you guys and be, transparent about things, right? So yeah, couple of things on the docket today. Okay, so mostly what I want to talk about is the you ever been in a situation where like it's you versus everybody else in the room? You know what I mean? Like you are the unpopular opinion and everybody's just like, no, you're crazy, right? I've been in that position like many times. But what I want to say is that like I'm not close-minded to the fact that like I could be wrong. I like the idea that like you don't learn things by winning conversations, you learn things by losing conversations and standing corrected. You just need to be able to put everything aside and have that a reasonable debate so that like something like this can occur. So a couple of things that come to mind when we're talking about this, right, is there was one time where we're having a coil discussion, right? And this was a long time ago back then where we're talking about the aggro coil. And the aggro coil had 3 strands of 28 gauge Canthal and a strand of ribbon Canthal, and it was just twisted together. It was just, this is a hot mess, right? And then people were talking about its performance, so great, whatever. And then I was just like, well, what's the difference between taking 28 gauge and then twisting that against more 28 gauge, or maybe just take like 2 26 gauges and twist those together or something, as long as the heat temperature coefficient, right, is similar and the resistance is similar, you should have pretty much the same kind of coil inside of your RD. It just shouldn't be too much of a significant performance difference, and at the time, everybody's like, well, did you make the coil? Did you make it? And no, I didn't make the coil. I didn't make the coil specifically because, like, I strongly felt as if, like, it's not going to do much of a difference just by eye. It's not like I have zero experience making coils myself. So what ended up happening is that, like, I gave in. I built the coil, and it was exactly as I thought, But again, like I said, it's not like I'm not open to the chance that like I could be wrong, so I'm definitely going to come back to stuff. Another time was one of my videos where I kind of did like a conductivity thing, right? I was just trying to talk to everybody about the V3 Flip mod, okay? Because the V3 Flip mod was selling a mod in gold and then telling people like, oh, the conductivity, blah, 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 whatever. And then I was like, yeah, but that kind of doesn't make sense because conductivity goes from copper to silver to gold, blah, 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 whatever. You would be better off making like, a pure silver mod, a pure copper mod, or whatever. But then you cover it in gold. Now I have to pay more for less conductivity when there are already copper mods out there. Like that was my argument, And then a guy wrote to me, he goes, Peg, I am a professional welder, and in my metallurgy book it says that gold is the #1 conductor, blah blah blah, whatever. So I was like, okay, and then I just walked away from it. And then I came back, I'm like, you really? I'm like, And I came back, I'm like, really? The inner nerd in me is like, I gotta get it right, so I decided to do some heavy research and stuff like that, looking around everywhere, and no matter how I did it, I just kept on coming up with the same answer, that like, it's copper, silver, gold, brass, in that order. And then after I was done, I was like, dude, can you get your camera phone or whatever, and then take a picture of the book and maybe show me exactly where it says or what book it is. I'd really like to see it for myself. And lo and behold, I never got a response. You know what I mean? What a shock. So this time, what I want to talk about, like, if you guys want to come over with me to the screen cap over here, okay? And I want to talk about this drag mod, okay? Vubu drag mod 157 TC box mod with the gene chips, blah blah blah. You guys have already seen the reviews for all this, right? So let's scroll all the way down. I'm not here to argue about like, you know, whether this thing is a game changer or whether, but one thing that I did notice over here is this, right? Main function features. Okay, so 02 over here says super fastest fire speed in the world. Okay, 0.025s. Okay, so let's do this together at home, children. 0 is 1 second. So this is a 10th of a second, a 100th of a second, and a 1000th of a second, commonly referred to as the millisecond. Okay, so this is a 100th of a second, right? So 2.5 hundredths of a second, okay? Guys, let's round it up to 300ths of a second. Everybody, count to 300ths of a second at home. I'll wait. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is that, like, I had a conversation with a couple of people in a room, and I was just like, these days with the whole, like, you know, I click the button and then, like, it fires right away. Is that a thing now? And then everybody's like, oh yeah, it's a thing. It's a really important thing. It's such a big deal. Look at my mech mod versus my box mod, blah, 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 whatever. And I wanted to hear a compelling conversation, you know, a compelling argument to this. Like sell me on this, you know what I mean? Because I'll buy if it makes sense, sure, you know what I mean? I'm totally about that innovation or whatever. But I don't see the innovation here. I see the razzle dazzle in this one.
Razzle dazzle.
Do you guys agree on this? Look, here's my reasoning for this. Okay, what is the difference between 0.025 and let's say 0.07? You know what I mean? Like, do you really notice that difference or whatever, right? The lag, I'm not saying that there weren't chips that had lag, you know what I mean? The Camry mods had lag, back then with the gang mod or whatever, those things had serious delays. You hit the button and then comes on later on, right? That is absolutely unacceptable to me. But for me as a reviewer, this whole time receiving different mods and stuff, it was really about like acceptable and unacceptable, wasn't it? So, you know, if I had to like put this in a different term, it's kind of like, you know, it is or it isn't. You can't be a little bit retarded and you can't be super pregnant, right?
Yo, your girlfriend's on the phone, man. She sounds super pregnant.
With that said, this thing is trying to sell me something on like something that I think is kind of gimmicky. I actually would like to ask you guys, how many of you guys out there who are watching this consider my channel to be a technical show? Like I'm a tech reviewer, right? Granted that I do like to get into the techie things or whatever, right? But I don't want to get too deep into it where like I can't justify whether, you know what I mean, it's information you need to know or it's just razzle dazzle. You see what I'm saying? For example, right? At what point when I'm talking about batteries, right, am I, you know, sharing, you know, the battery knowledge with you guys, and at what point am I just pretty much just like, you know, showing off what I know or whatever, you know what I mean? So although a lot of people, they do write in questions, right? Peg, what is ICR, what is IMR, what is like I'll explain like those acronyms or whatever, but I'm not going to like, you know, go into exactly what the mixture is and why blah 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 this and that, you know what I mean? Because it becomes less about shopping for batteries or understanding batteries in a vaping application versus how to build a battery. You know what I mean? You didn't come here to learn how to make a battery. You came here to learn how batteries, you know, apply to vaping and how to stay safe and whatever. And that's where I need to stay. I gotta stay within the boundaries of that. Does that make sense? Right. So I feel as if like many times when it comes to like certain mods or whatever, right, you kind of just want to know like the specs that it claims, right? Is it true or not? You know what I mean? Yes or no. And if it's off by how much? And I'll tell you exactly that, and I'll teach you guys how to do it at home. That's it. You know what I mean? I remember when I did a video for TCE batteries, right? I caught them on this, you know? And I feel as if like, how many of you guys do exactly the same thing at home? You know, it's totally understandable if you are one or the other, because I am this person at certain times and I am that person at other times. For the battery thing, it's because I have a little bit more expertise in it, so I'm going to catch it. I have an eagle eye for that. But if it was like, something else, I might just be like, it is what it is. It says what it says. So when there's like a huge chart of like a whole bunch of like information and stuff like that, right? I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, I appreciate all the work that they put into this. However, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I'm definitely not going to bother double checking the specs. I don't really care that much. I heard it was good. Maybe I'll get it. Maybe I won't. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's a very free floating kind of opinion on this. But when it came to the Tesla E batteries, right, it had this chart section over here that I pointed out to you guys, right, that they recorded the starting voltage of competitor batteries before they opened when they opened it right out of the box. What? Okay, why is that a what the hell in my opinion, right? Because when we test batteries, you gotta drag all your cars to the start line before you start the race. They gotta start somewhere and they gotta start equally, right? So in terms of batteries, we're going to take them all out of the box and charge them up to 4.2 anyways. When I pick up the mod and I hit the button, I want to hear like that, If it's tiny milliseconds faster or whatever, I'm really not going to know the difference. But when it goes, you know what I mean? Of course, I noticed the difference. It was significantly noticeable. So again, right, it was either acceptable or unacceptable. If I went with like a real estate agent to go check out an apartment or something like that, and she said, we have this lovely apartment where like, when you turn on the light switch, the lights come on right away. I would have been like, isn't that what it's supposed to do? Like, when was that a thing now? Where like, I have to, you know what I mean? I have to put this feature on a pedestal or something. Like I feel as if I'm praising something that's supposed to be. You know what I mean? That's what it's supposed to do. And if it does it too slowly, that's not what it's supposed to do. As far as this argument goes, right, it got pretty deep, and like I maybe I didn't explain myself properly or whatever, but I also did want to put out there, right, that when debating, about like this chip and its engagement and how fast it does the calculations and stuff like that, I'm personally, all I'm saying is that like, if it's physically unnoticeable to me, then it just passes within parameters of acceptable and unacceptable, and that's pretty much all I care about, But as far as really debating what's going on or whatever, right, do keep in mind that, like, what are we talking about here, right? The engagement of the circuit or the cooking of the coil, because those are two completely different things. Because when you turn on your stove is on, but your coil, the stovetop is not necessarily glowing red just yet, you know what I mean? So, like, from your perspective, from your human perspective of what you can see, that this is engaged and this is the coil is cooking, is two totally different things. You could possibly have something on a very, very low setting, so when you push the button, you don't hear the coil go right away, because it's a very slow setting and it's coming up slowly. But that doesn't mean that the circuit didn't engage immediately. Anyways, getting way too ahead of myself on that one. Okay, let's talk about the website and what's coming up and what changes have we made and stuff like that. So if we come back to the screen cap, okay, talk to you guys real quick about batteries. Real quick, okay, for all of you out there who watch vlogs and stuff like that, there is a secret coupon on Pegasus Vapor Academy. It's always been there. It's been there since the beginning of time, okay? It's called Vape Clever, okay? Vape Clever, one word, all lowercase, gets you 5% off on any battery order, okay? That's what it does. So if you guys didn't know, I want you guys to know, all right? It has always been there, okay? And it's kind of like a secret hidden thing for, the subscribers and whatever, because, I know my loyal list is definitely watches the vlog series. Okay, so something that I want to talk about here, okay? We redid the website, just give it a new coat of paint and stuff, and try to reorganize things, a little bit more. Some stuff is still, under construction, okay? This thing says uncategorized. Okay, I actually have to remove that. I don't even know what that does, but I'm not going to click on it. let's go over to the learn more section. Okay, here's something that I want to talk about in regards to the batteries. Okay, first and foremost, okay, before we begin, I'm gonna talk about like, why did I make these batteries? Why did I do this? How did we get here? You know what I mean? Like we started from, you know, education to this to that to whatever, right? And it is exactly the path. So I want to share the story with you guys, okay? For as many of you who are new subscribers and stuff. It's about reaching out to people. That's really what it is, okay? The first thing about vaping, anybody says, is you have to learn battery safety. It's just that simple, you know what I mean? If you get into guns, gun safety, you know what I mean? If you work on cars or whatever, you know, tool safety, it's always safety first, right? I think you guys already know how many people skip it, or how many people are, just neglect battery safety, right? So the whole point is to reach people on this. However, different people are on different levels depending on different things. Look, I just want to vape, okay? I don't want to get into so much technical mumbo jumbo. I just want to vape, okay? Because I have other hobbies and I want to spend my time on other things. Perfectly acceptable, okay? So to me, what are these batteries and what am I doing and what are they to me, okay? It is the equivalent of people eating at a restaurant. People who eat at restaurants are people who, you know, they don't want to do their own cooking. They want to have it done for them, right? People who buy cookbooks are people who want to learn how to do the cooking, right? And then, or follow YouTube series and stuff like that. They follow cooking shows and stuff because they want to learn how to cook, right? And then people who shop at a supermarket or whatever are people who don't want to farm their own. And then there are plenty of people who have gardens in their backyards and, you know, harvest their own food and probably cook from there. But does that make you better than the next person? Absolutely not. You know what I mean? We're just at like different comfort levels. We feel as if our time is worth different things at different times or whatever, or we put different levels of considerations into things because we are different people. Just like how I have so many different batteries for different vapors because we all vape at different levels. You know what I mean? And to think any more of it, or you know, to complicate any more of it is just absolutely crazy, okay? This is exactly what it is. For many of you who want to go over to my blog section over here, right? And then like, hey Peg, I just want to like check out the charts and then I just want to pick up batteries on my own. Dude, I did my part, you know what I mean? That was the whole point of this. I don't care you use my charts to buy the batteries, or you go ahead and buy my batteries because you know that it's top shelf stuff, or you go ahead and you buy the batteries for a friend because it's a way of learning without learning. You know what I mean? Because you guys already know the batteries over here also not only have like all the correct specs on it, it also have the all the proper recommended wattages on it. So anybody, when they pick up the battery, all they have to do is just follow exactly what the label says. It's simplified for everyone. You know what I mean? So you know you have that friend that like, you know, can't be bothered with like look, I just want to vape or whatever, and then you know you want to get him something because you're concerned about his you know, battery safety, etc., whatever, right? That makes perfect sense. That's what it's for. You know what I mean? There's something for everybody, and that's what I try to do. I meet people halfway, I meet people all the way. You know what I mean? That's all it is. Okay, so with that said, let's talk about what I wrote over here, all this mumbo jumbo, okay? Here's something that I just wanted to get everybody's opinion on and how you feel about it. I'm just going to do the explanation real quick. I'm not against the idea that people, you know, the moment that they learn something, they go teach it to a friend to spread awareness and whatever. But I am against the idea that, like, if you didn't really learn it, like if you only half-heartedly learned it, or you're not completely certain, right? And then you're just like very quick to go and help other people, you might do something with an adverse effect. You don't want to learn something and then the moment you tell somebody else, like you tell it backwards. You know what I mean? That's gonna have adverse problem versus you know, doing a good thing. Now you're doing a bad thing, you know? Okay, so because it explains to me like how many times like I've had conversations with people, and I can't I can't exactly remember the example. Somebody might say something to me, and then he'll finish it with wattage, and I'll be like, you mean voltage, right? And then when he says, voltage, I'll be like, you meant amperage, right? And then sometimes they'll say, yeah, that's what it meant. Or sometimes they'll be like, no, I'm certain that it's the other way around. And I'm like, no, it's the other. But I don't want to get into like, a jam my agenda down your throat session with somebody. So I'll just be like, all right, I said my part, but I don't want to be a dick about it, right? But you guys know what I mean. There are certain times where like you talk to somebody and they're super insistent, even though you know that they have it backwards, right? Right. So, what I want to talk about is the way we teach batteries, okay? Now, a lot of times you will hear people talk about batteries and energy and electrons and stuff like that being compared with water or traffic and stuff. I've learned these things the same ways. I've heard the stories as well, the analogies and the teachings and stuff. Although it did help me get a better grasp of exactly, what all this stuff is, right? It didn't really help me shop. I want to say that batteries and tires shop the same. I'm not saying they're the same thing, okay? I'm just saying that they shop the same way, okay? And what I mean by that is that there are two specs that we're basically looking at that are very similar, right? So the tires, they have the tire tread, right? And they also have the speed that it's rated for. So tire tread and speed would be the equivalent of batteries milliamp hours to it's a continuous amperage rating, respectively. So when you go ahead and you have buy tires, right? The tires come in like ABCD ratings, right? And the lower we go to like V, Z, like the lower that we go, whatever, right, is the higher performance it's rated. When it comes to batteries, I feel as if like there's a lot of blanket statements out there that really hurt the market, and it really puts people in a bad spot. When people talk about my battery's better than your battery, this battery's better than that battery, you should get high amperage batteries, etc., whatever. These are all crazy blanket statements that hurt the market. Okay, in fact, it causes a lot of fake batteries to be produced, blah blah blah, whatever, because somebody said this model or that model was really good, and then the shelves clear, and then there's not enough supply for it, so then like factories start wrapping whatever in the same color type of wrapper, and now there's a whole bunch of fakes. So these blanket statements are not only unhelpful to other folks who are trying to shop for a battery on their own, they also ruin the market. And people who actually need these batteries are now stuck with a bunch of fakes. You know what I mean? It's not good for people. What is good for people is to truly help folks understand what their setup is and what they actually need. Okay, so coming back to the chart over here, what I want to say is that like after I have personally brought PVA to a couple of vape conventions and stuff, I had a booth there, and I set up shop, set up a whole bunch of batteries. I had my charts out and whatever to talk to people about this stuff, right? And people wanted to know what's the big deal about your batteries. Well, other than the fact that they're top shelf grade, it is really about the education behind the wrapper. And what happened is that when I took their hand and shopped with them, right? And we started with so how many batteries is your device using? Oh, I see you have a dually cell, you have a WisMech triple cell, whatever. Okay, so what's the speed that you set it at, right? How many whatever. So you'd be surprised. I actually didn't sell that many Ds, and I sold a lot of E batteries as well, because there's still a lot of like single battery cloud chaser type deal or whatever. So they definitely need the E batteries, and they know what they're talking about. So they definitely needed a 30 amp stuff. But when it came down to like a lot of folks who had the RX 200 or the WisMech Rouleau and stuff like that, right? Most people are not really vaping past 100 watts anyway. So shockingly enough, a lot of people picked up the A batteries. You don't need more powerful batteries, you need more powerful setups. But when it comes to online, right, for my online sales, I've noticed that I sell way more D batteries and E batteries than anything else. I don't get to talk to every single customer individually and shop with them on a one-to-one basis, right? But I do assume that, like, is it because there's some statements out there or whatever that people feel as if, like, oh, you know, maybe it's like I need a 20 amp battery, but it's probably a little safer if I go to 25 amps, or, you know, let me just go get the 30 amp battery and, like, I have all my bases covered, etc., right? So while you could do that, I don't recommend it at all because of, you know, the tire analogy over here, okay? Let's say you go ahead and you don't drive very fast, right? Sometimes you hit the highway, but basically you're just going to work and coming home. There's no way you're really breaking 80 miles per hour, right? You probably don't even live that far. So, would you be safe going back and forth with, like, you know, racing tires that are rated for like 200 miles per hour? Absolutely. But does that make you any safer than, like, you know, regular tires that are rated for like 100 miles per hour and you're only driving at 80 miles per hour, but you have like these 200 mile per hour rated tires or whatever? Does that make you safer? No, it doesn't make you any safer. It's exactly like I said before. You can't be a little bit retarded and you can't be super pregnant. You are safe or you're not safe. It's one or the other. As long as you're within parameters, you're golden. You know. So with that said, right, the same thing applies with the batteries and the tires over here. Okay, if you're getting the tires and you're getting overkill tires, right, then you're just not going to get a lot of tread life out of it, right? And when this comes back to batteries, if you're getting overkill batteries, then you're just not going to get a lot of vape time. That's all it is. Okay? Yeah, guys, so let me know if you guys agree with that kind of reasoning, and that's what you get out of this article, you know what I mean? That knowledge, that awareness, you know what I mean? So whether you purchase batteries in order to do so, right, and plus, you know, it helps out with the site anyways, but if you go ahead and just use the charts to purchase your own batteries on your own whatever, right, I've done my part, you know what I mean? That's what this whole thing was all about. That's why we started this. When you really think about it, I mean, how many other companies are doing exactly what we're doing here with, like, specifications and charts and trying to show people the numbers by Ohm's law and trying to get it right, you know? Most people are just trying to push a battery and a single battery, and they always move, like, you know, the mid-class range, and then they tell you that it's more power than it actually is on the tread life, and it's faster than it actually is on the speed rating. You know what I mean? It's not right. Okay, and I don't want the market to continue to go in those kind of false directions, okay? And I guess that's also why, the same reason I brought up the whole drag mod thing, you know what I mean? I feel as if the drag thing is not a thing, but if we all buy into it, it will become a thing, and I think it's just razzle-dazzle when, at the end of the day, when you hit that button, you know what I mean? Does it ignite your coil fast enough so that it's acceptable? Should be all that matters. You know what I mean? You shouldn't have to pay more for, like, you know, milliseconds that, like, you're not going to be able to notice anyways. Anyhow, so other than this, let's talk about what's going on with the Fogworks tank. Okay, so yeah, guys, Fogworks tank is going to be is here finally. Okay, the final release. Better gaskets, better like everything inside. Okay, so it was very heartwarming for me to find out how you guys felt about the beta model. Many of you guys picked up, you know, 1 or 2 copies of the beta model. This one had the posts are gutted out a little wider so that, like, it will be able to fit the dual 24 core fused Claptons and stuff like that. Okay, yeah, that, and it has the upgraded gaskets so that, like, it can hold the juice and whatever as you change the coil on the fly. Another thing that I wanted to show you guys is the box itself. Okay, the box, this was the actual intention of what we're trying to do. The actual gunmetal and stainless steel that actually match the gunmetal and the stainless steel. Okay, it was never supposed to come in a painted box. I didn't say much about it because the quality of the beta version with the painted box was really good, but it's just not matchy with the atomizer should some of you choose to go ahead and make a box mod out of it. Okay, the box mod idea is just a suggestive thing, but at the end of the day, I just really wanted you guys to have an extra gift of a case that, like, you know, you could put your coils or some tools or, you know, whatever you want to put in there, and it's just, you know, a reminder of me. You know what I mean? That's all it really was intended to be. In regards to the Fogworks slider RT, okay, I did take a page out of Vape Happy's book, and we did the what I was able to do is that I was able to get the first 20 from the factory, right? So I have serial number 001 through 20 for both the stainless and the gunmetal one. So you know, if you guys go ahead and pick up the Fogworks slider from the PVA website, you will be able to purchase the low serial numbers. Okay, those of you who've noticed that I have a brand new build mat. Okay, I want to show you guys the build mat, the Fogworks build mat. Okay, hopefully I'm holding this up well enough into the camera for you guys to see, right? And anybody who purchases the first 20 of the Fogworks RT8, right? We're gonna throw this build. I'm personally gonna throw this build mat in there. Okay, supplies are super limited for the build mat. We only have like 100 of them made, and we will not. I don't think I'm gonna be printing. I don't think they'll be printing more of these. Okay, so definitely a limited edition mat. And if we ever do like more mats or whatever, they'll probably come in like a different design or anything like that. But for the you know, original steam train design, this will come with the Fogworks slider final release if you guys are interested in that. So as far as the shop over here, I want to talk about the Pegasus real quick, right? Those of you who remember what the Pegasus is, I have brought it back, okay? And what it is that there's a lot of past items, and there will be like some juice collections, blah, 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 whatever, because sometimes they send me like too many copies of something, right? And you know, I have another copy, like, you know, sitting around or whatever, and there will be the description inside of all of them when you click on it, right? It's opened for review, or it has been used, etc., right? And I'm very transparent about the item itself. Okay, for example, the Asmodus battery analyzer. Okay, I put the review over here, and I want you guys to see a warning as reviewed on the Straight Volt Season 3. Okay, this device does not actually work the way that it claims. Okay, this item is just for yucks of anybody who just wants to collect it or whatever. Okay, and this is also a section that, like, if anybody like really wants a certain item or something like that, and you want to haggle or bargain or whatever, right? And I mean, we'll make something happen for you. Okay, the Pegasus is just a real fun area that, like, you know, different one item stuff will pop up every now and then, and it's just good for you guys to come back and check it out every now and then. Okay, lastly, two last things on the docket, right? One will be the Straight Volt episodes. When are they coming back? I believe it should be November 10th. Okay, because November 10th is about 6 weeks counting back from Christmas, so that we could go ahead and do the last 6 episodes, season finale, and possibly even do a Christmas special or something like that, you know, just to end the year. Other than that, GM coils is another thing that I wanted to bring up. Our good friend Giovanni, who is also a subscriber from Canada, has supplied us with like a ton of his new dragon scale coils. Okay, so it's like, what is a dragon scale coil? I will be doing a featurette on that so that you guys can see what is going on, and we will do something very special for the family, for everybody to participate in. Okay, and yeah, guys, so that is definitely something to look forward to. So other than that, let's recap real quick. Okay, so Fogworks slider tanks will come with the mats if you guys are interested in that. Do remember to use the Vape Clever coupon, one word, all lowercase letters, if you're interested in picking up any of the batteries. And then the Pegasus, definitely, you know, a fun thing to take a look at. And the two things, right? One, what do you think of the tire explanation? And number two, do you agree with me that, like, you know, how fast the engagement, like the drag thing, it's not a thing until it's unacceptable, you know what I mean? Okay, so that is it for this time with the vlog, and I will see you guys in the next.